ridiculous fondling cardboard.
What is up? Welcome back to Fondling Cardboard. I'm your host, Mike Lakusta, aka the Golf Card Collector. I hope all you guys are enjoying the start of a beautiful fall. Up here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, the trees, the leaves have all turned from green to yellow. There's some oranges and reds starting to pop up. Leaves are falling down. Gotta winterize the yards soon enough. It's a beautiful time of year, but Canadian Thanksgiving's just around the corner. A lot of birthday celebrations, wedding anniversary, a lot of stuff going on. And between that and family and work, let's just say I find myself in a constant state of overwhelm. And there's a few things I do to help. Part of it is physical activity. I kickstarted our basketball season, rec league with a bunch of friends, and had our first game last night. And not to toot my own horn, but I went off a little bit. And, those kind of things are really helpful for your mental health, for your physical health. But when you got family visiting from out of town and you got a busy weekend, and work is grinding right up until the end of the Friday afternoon, there's one thing that I love to do to escape it all. And that's to dig into my boxes of cards. Flip through my Coyotes collection, my golf cards, my different subsets that I collect. Some of them complete. I just enjoy looking at them. And some of them are incomplete. And there's still that thrill of the chase going on. Whatever it is that you enjoy collecting, wherever you are in the world, just remember to enjoy the cards that you have from time to time. And let the hobby be a positive part of your life. Fondle your cards from time to time. Feel like a kid again. And I wish you happy collecting. In today's episode of Fondling Cardboard, I'm going to clear the air a little bit about my take on 2024 Upper Deck portfolio that I shared in the last episode, because I got a lot of DMs, a lot of messages about, perhaps contradictory things that I was sharing. I'm not going to get too into the weeds about the actual set, but I figured the right way to respond to all of that is to give the set an evaluation, a bit of a report card. Then I'm going to describe a bit of a challenge that I'm facing in the hobby, a little bit of a dilemma in my PC, so to speak, and I'll be soliciting some advice from you listeners. And then lastly, we're going to hit on the mailbag questions that you guys have been leaving. Thank you all for being patient. I look forward to getting into those. Last week's episode of Fondling Cardboard posed the question, did we just get the best golf set ever? Actually, I think I said the greatest golf set ever. In 2024 Upper Deck portfolio, I got a ton of messages and I saw lots of buzz around the Facebook groups about portfolio. A lot of people saying, yeah, this set looks amazing. The cards are incredible. Lots of really great hits, lots of great card designs. And that makes sense because it's a mishmash of products from a lot of Upper Deck's portfolio, hence the name. But every now and then, I started seeing some negativity kind of bubbling up. And that would be on a lot of the Facebook posts, for instance, people posting hits when they ripped a box or ripped a case of portfolio, sharing the autographs they hit, etc. And people coming out saying, oh, nice to see you spent $1,000 and you got $60 worth of cards. Or they say, this is exactly why I never buy modern golf cards and I strictly sticked to pre-war vintage golf. But one of the things that I love about a community like the trading card hobby is that once you get into it and you get a little deeper than the average collector and you start having those, direct friendships and group chats with like-minded collectors, you can take the good with the bad. Like in a golf card chat I've got, there were rumblings saying, this product should be worth $90 a hobby box. And somebody comments saying $60. And somebody says, now it should be worth $50 a box. Or some guys, instead of sharing their hits in their box, they'll be sharing their duds from the box. One guy will share a couple of sweet looking Tiger cards that he pulled out of the same box. And then somebody will respond showing off their their Billy Horschel base card and 37-year-old Ryan Fox rookie card that, just sarcastically taking a jab at the product. And then sprinkled in there, you're going to have guys just reminding everybody that, ripping boxes is the only activity that we hear people trying to get money back. And other than, let's say, breaking or flipping and investing and all that crap. But, in reality, go play 18 holes of golf, go see a movie, go to dinner. You're going to spend the same amount of money as you did on a hobby box, and none of those things you expect to get your money back. And then we get the constructive feedback. I'm going to use air quotes around constructive. That Upper Deck needs to sign all of the current truly active PGA Tour players on their sets. And I'll admit I am guilty of basically everything that I just said. I'm not the one throwing it around all the time in these group chats, but I'll definitely be the first one to say, guys, you're not going to make your money back ripping wax. It's just for the experience of opening the cards yourself. If you don't want to carry that risk and that liability, let the breakers do it and then just go buy all the singles on eBay. And I'll be the first one to say, Upper Deck, you guys really need to get Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Tom Kim, so many other amazing players, Ludwig Oberg, and heck, get some vets in these sets that people actually want. Not Ryan Fox, we want Jordan Spieth and Rory McIlroy. For God's sake, we would even take like Happy Gilmore, fictional characters. Just, a little something on the checklist. The cards are great. And that leads into this report card that I wanted to write about Portfolio. Now, I actually think I'll probably talk about Portfolio again because I truly think it's an incredible set. I think there's a question mark about greatest set of all time because of the checklist. Let's see what the set overall grades with a report card. So I've chosen some different categories to grade 2024 Upper Deck Portfolio. These are categories that are entirely biased based on my own opinions. And even more subjective is the letter grades that I'll be assigning to those categories. But without further ado, my first category is a very personal thing. Wanting shiny cards for golf. So enough with just traditional paper card products. Give us chromium refractor style of cards. And although this set does not have like a base set of chromium cards, we did get Allure, which is probably the most chromium style of card of the set. There's also Trilogy and Stature. So we got a few different properties from Upper Deck that somewhat resemble what we've been asking for. In terms of responding to requests for chromium shiny cards, I give Portfolio a B+. The next subject that Upper Deck Portfolio will be graded on is variety. And this is super biased because the inherent nature of Portfolio is that it's a variety of different products. But I kind of wanted to grade which kinds of variety they went for. Because when I look at, Upper Deck Game Used, for instance, some of the cards are kind of cool, but I don't consider that a successful variety of different golf cards. When I look at 2024 Upper Deck Flagship Golf, which was basically a paper product, there were some okay looking inserts, let's say, but for the most part, it was just a very consistent, tame kind of traditional golf card set. And when I look at this set, I've already talked about the shiny cards, but the Black Diamond cards, Ingrained, Exquisite, SP Authentic, SPX, Upper Deck Black and Ultimate Collection, there's some pretty awesome cards in this set. So I give Portfolio an A+. Woo! The next category is chase cards. Now, this is going to fool a lot of people in terms of what this category gets graded, because I've seen comments out there saying there's no chase cards, or there's no chase cards that'll pay the price of the box, blah, blah, blah. I challenge those people to really look at the checklist and understand what's available in this set, because even just looking at the Retro Exquisite set, right? Retro Exquisite from 2009, which is kind of pulling on an iconic rookie card from Steph Curry's rookie year, or an 03 Exquisite card, which is LeBron James's rookie season. And there's even base cards from that year, and then there's the patch autograph cards from that era. I just, even Diamond Relics, which is not necessarily huge dollar amounts, but those cards do sell for a reasonable amount. And there's a 2015 Retro Diamond Relic set in addition to the base Diamond Relic set. So even though you guys might not be hitting the bangers, they are out there. There's not as many one-of-one, shiny black cards like there would be in, Panini set. There's not a lot of one-of-one relic cards, whatever. There are some in the set. So you might not be hitting that, gigantic hit, but I think there's absolutely some chase cards in the set. I'm going to give this an A-. The next category we're going to grade portfolio on is what I call integrity. Yeah, that's right. We're getting pretty deep and pretty meta, and frankly kind of strangely obsessive into this hobby to be talking about the integrity of a sports card set. I mean, what I'm talking about when I think of integrity is in the modern trends with card manufacturers is to overprint, to create too many different colored parallels. And for those of you who collect football and basketball, you can see what Panini's done. Like between 2017 to 2020, there was like a 10-fold increase in the different colored variations of a given card. And between 2020 and 24, there's another 10-fold increase. Like it went from, I don't know, like 8 different parallels or something like that in the late teens to 150 different colored variations of a particular card. And what I love about Portfolio is that we've got all of these different sets, right? I don't know if I went over them in the variety portion, but there's Allure, Artifacts, Diamond, Black Diamond, Ingrained, Exquisite, SP Authentic, SPX, Stature, Trilogy, Upper Deck Black, and Ultimate Collection. Now, those are a lot of different kinds of cards. You'd think, well, there's not much integrity in that. They're just throwing a paint balloon at the wall and there's a bunch of colors splashing all over the place. Well, if you look into the details, each of those different properties basically has like a base checklist and maybe one parallel, right? Now, I'm sure there's a couple exceptions. Like if I looked at this, maybe the Exquisite has an out of 49 and a 1-of-1 or something like that. Or if you look at the shiny cards, for instance, Allure, there's the base cards, there's the black rainbow, which is like a black refractor, non-numbered. There's a green rainbow, which is a little more rare than the black one. Then there's a red rainbow, which is serial numbered out of 149, and a gold rainbow out of 10. Now, I know I probably said that and stumbled on my words a little bit, so it sounded like a lot, but that's only like 5 different variations. So that, and I'm pretty sure that's the most number of parallels for a given subset within Portfolio. Another example is with Trilogy. Now, looking at the base cards, for instance, the base vets, there's 999 copies of each, and the uncommon is serial numbered out of 699, and the rare are serial numbered out of 399. It's simple. Like there's not much to stumble over. So even though there are a few different parallels, I think it's the perfect recipe. And for the category of integrity, I give Portfolio an A. Okay. And the last category of this ridiculous exercise that I'm doing, that I will grade Upper Deck Portfolio on, is, drumroll, the checklist. That's right. Everybody who's sitting there banging your heads against your desk or wherever it is you're listening to this podcast, you're sitting there thinking, Mike, stop talking about the shininess and the number of different variations of a card. Talk about what really matters, the checklist. All right. I'm going to do it here, folks. I'm not going to give you what you want, though, because I think you expect me to give them a failing grade, right? They need an F on the checklist. There needs to be a black mark on this set. Fair enough. If that's your opinion, I understand. I am not going to give them a failing grade. I'm going to give it a C minus because although we are missing some very key names I've already mentioned, names we've all been asking for, I at least need to acknowledge that the PGA Tour is not set up like a regular sports league, like MLB or the NBA or the NFL, with a players association that can at the very least get the name, image, likeness of these players so that you can pull an awesome, shiny, rare insert card of a non-autographed card that will carry significant value because we can't even get the name, image, likeness of those players. When I say we, I mean Upper Deck. They can't get those players in. They'll get sued if they print a card with that player's face on it. I'm not happy with the checklist. I'm not complacent with it. I was never a C- student when I was in school, so I don't think that's a good grade. But I refuse to give Upper Deck a failing grade because in my eyes, if I said they got an F on the checklist, then they don't pass. And I truly think this set is incredible. For instance, I do intend to collect the 2009 Exquisite Autograph cards. Those are serial numbered out of 49. I don't always like announcing when I'm chasing after cards because there's a paranoid thought in my mind that somebody's going to demand higher prices of me or they're going to bid up those cards on eBay. But at the end of the day, I think that the benefit of putting yourself out there on what you want to collect, even if there's these risks, I think that outweighs anything else. Because even if one or two guys reach out to me saying, hey, I have one of these cards, do you want it? That's enough of a help for me in my pursuit. I already have Bryson DeChambeau. I've got Colin Morikawa from past sets. I still need to pick up the Will Zalatoris. I think those all came from Goodwin Champions. But as I picked up the Bryson and the Colin Morikawa, I thought to myself, these are such incredible cards that I would love to basically collect any golfer that comes out with this exact styling of card. And it just so happens that in portfolio, there's a checklist of 16 retro exquisite autograph cards from that 2009 Steph Curry style set. In fact, there's 16 cards here. Guys that might not necessarily be big names in golf. You know, someone like Brandon Wu could very well fade up into the rafters of the PGA Tour. And if I'm spending, I don't know how much his cards are going to end up going for, but, you know, high tens of dollars, maybe hundreds of dollars, who knows? And it basically drops down to $10. Well, that's just a risk I have to take because I just am so attracted to this particular style that I'm not necessarily trying to invest. I'm not trying to make money on these cards. In fact, if I look at the checklist, it's exactly what I was saying. The checklist is not good, right? There's people on here, Brandon Wu, Carly Booth, Billy Horschel, Joel Damon, Seamus Power, Taylor Moore, Thomas Peters, Vincent Norman, Vince Whaley. Like, who in their right mind is a personal collector of Vince Whaley unless you know the guy personally? So at the end of the day, the checklist isn't great, but it's created this project for me that I'm really excited about, and so I have a hard time giving it a failing grade. All right, that report card thing took a bit more time than I expected, so I'm going to keep this brief, but I am looking at my collection, and just like a lot of things I was describing in my life, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Like I've got piles of cards over here and partial sets over there and cards that I absolutely love in my special box or my favorite box is I think what I call it. And I don't have a lot of rhyme and reason to it. Now, I can figure out how to physically file these cards away or sort them into boxes or cases or whatever, but what I would really like to figure out is how can I keep track of this eclectic collection with a dozen or so different lanes that I collect in, how can I keep it digitally organized in a spreadsheet? And I mean, I can come up with some frameworks for a spreadsheet and I can manually type them all in. But what I would really like to know from you listeners is there any way to automate that process? Now, I love fondling my cards. I love flipping through my cards, but I don't necessarily love typing all of the intricate details of each card into a spreadsheet. I would love if there was an app that just let you pull up your camera, take a picture of the card or scan the card or whatever, and it just automatically populates into the app or into a spreadsheet what the app thinks the card is. Even if it's wrong, at least it's kind of got a starting point. It'll probably get the athlete correct. Maybe it'll get the year correct and the brand, Upper Deck or Topps or whatever it is. If there's some kind of app out there or any kind of subscription that you guys are aware of, hit me up. Okay, I'm at the Golf Card Collector on Instagram. I'm not hard to reach. Mike Lakusta on Facebook. Let me know, because anything that could save hours of typing and manually cataloging. I know a lot of guys that are into collecting really enjoy that part of the process. I use spreadsheets for work. It's not necessarily what I need to be doing in my hobby. So yeah, there's my bat signal. If any of you guys are familiar with any kind of product or service that can help me out with my organization, maybe even keeping track of values of the cards, keeping track of which ones I'm missing out of some subsets. Those are all kind of different ways I imagine using a spreadsheet and keeping track of my collection. And then most importantly is prioritizing, because when I look at my hobby behavior, it is not always smart. I allow impulses to take over. I buy cards that wouldn't even have a chance of cracking my top 100 wants list. And yet I still spend hundreds of dollars on cards that I don't necessarily care that much about. And maybe I think it's because I'm getting a good deal. It's lower than the last comp, blah, blah, blah. I need something that can zero in my focus a little bit better. That retro exquisite set that I just described, those cards aren't really cheap. And so, why spend money on cards that I don't necessarily want when I want to pursue an insert set like that? And I've probably got a dozen different sets and projects that I would like to work on over the coming years. And if you know of a tool that can help me out with that, hit me up. Mailbag. Just as Jesse Road Gibsons from Sport Cards Nonsense would say. I always have to give him credit if I steal the way he talks. We got RJ Spillone, or maybe it's Spallone. Sorry, RJ, if I say your name wrong. RJ says, I just found out about the Spectrum FX Bounty Hunt from 2021. Awesome set. Wish Bryson was a part of it, but nonetheless, still awesome. And then, so no question there, RJ, but looks like James Peacock commented showing off his Spectrum FX bounty set. Of course, James was part of that hunt. And some people in the group were chasing after their second and third complete FX bounty sets, and they just couldn't finish it because not enough of the product was actually opened out of the boxes. All right, moving on, we got John Rucker. Thoughts on the value of this? And then he's got a picture of a 2017 Sports Illustrated for Kids Xander Schauffele rookie card graded a mint 9. John just got this back from PSA yesterday. Have a post pending in the group asking for the group's opinion on it. Hey, you know what, John, I'm going to cheat. And I'm going to go over to the group's post and see what other people were saying about this before Jeepers Creepers. I actually commented on your post. So there you go. I'll just publicly say it. Well, we got Austin Bailey saying congrats on the card, because as Austin is saying, a PSA 9 on that card is an incredible grade because this has perforated edges. These are ripped out of a children's magazine, so very tough to get grading. I even remember Victor Kinderman, another friend of the group, saying, what does PSA do? Grade every individual perforation? Like, how do you grade a Sports Illustrated for Kids card? So Austin thinks it's similar to a 1 of 1. You can essentially set your own price and see what someone will pay for it. There's a big influx of Xander cards because of the Olympics set, so maybe not the best timing, but still, this is his first card. It's going to be important no matter what. I agree with all the sentiment Austin was sharing. It's a pop 8, so there's 8 of these PSA 9s. I don't think there's any higher. I don't think there's a PSA 10. I might be wrong, but there's definitely a few out there. I don't think any have sold, so if there's any PSA 9 of Xander Schauffele's SI for Kids card holders, they're just locked up in collections maybe. So yeah, I would say somewhere in that range, $400, $500, something like that. Our next question is from a friend of mine, not just the group, James Peacock. If you had unlimited money to buy one card, what would it be and why? And here's the catch, you have to keep it forever. Ooh, good question, James. This is tricky because it has to do with buying a card, unlimited money. I wonder how difficult it would be to find the card. Like, can I just buy a card from anybody? I can just walk up to whoever owns the triple logo man of LeBron James, of whatever that card's worth, a couple $1 million, and say, here's $30 million, give me the card. Or do I just go after something that's got a bit more sentimental value? I think I'm going to have to go after the sentimental value approach because at the end of the day, if I can't sell it, I'm going to be stuck with it. Actually, no. Okay, James, I found a loophole. I would go and I would offer $10 billion for a PSA 9 or 10 Honus Wagner, whatever card that's worth like 25, 30 million, or PSA 10 Mickey Mantle from 1951 Bowman, or no, 51 Topps, is it? Oh gosh, you baseball fans out there are going to be cringing as I'm trying to say this. I would buy the most valuable card I could find, and I would not sell it. I would keep it forever, but I would take out a line of credit on the card, and that way I would go buy a nice house, and I'd still have to make payments. Okay, scratch all of that. I'm sorry, you guys have to hear my brain barf. All right, one card. I'm going to lock it in with a Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan dual autograph. Probably the one from Goodwin Champions. I forget what year it was, somewhere between 2017 and 2019, where Michael Jordan isn't dressed up like a basketball player. He's wearing like this awesome sweater from like the 80s. And Tiger Woods, I think, is actually taking a golf swing. Super cool looking card. I think it's called Sport Royalty is the insert set. I actually posted at one point on my Instagram at the Golf Card Collector, probably 2 or 3 years ago. I posted this card as being one of my Grail cards. So I'm going to lock it in with that one, James. Really interesting question. I love it, James. Give me another one like that for next week or for the next time I do mailbag. And all the rest of you guys, step it up. Ask questions like James. And we're going to swing back to the other end of the spectrum with RJ Spallone, who isn't asking a question, just posts a picture of a card that I love. I'm not sure, RJ, if you know how much I love that card, but it's the 2021 Metal Universe Champions, Bryson DeChambeau Star Rubies. Of course, it's the Retro Star Rubies, serial numbered out of 50. And I love that card. I actually have 3 copies of it myself. Definitely one of the prettiest, shiniest cards that Bryson has. Big fan. All right, moving on. Evan Smith. How should one go about building their golf card collection? Upside down smiley face. All right, Evan. This is in the same category as James. This is a good question. Very intriguing, and I don't think there's a right answer, and I'm kind of on the fence. You know what? I'm going to give a relatively short answer now, and I might feel inspired by your question. Maybe someday in the coming weeks I'll record an entire episode on this because this is really interesting. But the word "should" is intriguing because at the end of the day, everybody should collect how you want to collect. There's no right way. Otherwise, what's the point in having thousands of different types of cards or millions of different kinds of cards? If there was one way to collect, then it would all just be fire starter fodder, right? And there'd only be a handful of cards that are worth collecting. So I'm gonna kind of answer this with how I should collect. Others shouldn't collect how I collect, because then the cards that I want are gonna be too expensive and too rare. But I'm gonna say both quality and quantity, because that was one of your questions, Evan. You followed up saying, if I were to do it over again, how would I do it? Well, you definitely need quality in your collection. There's no sense just collecting a bunch of base cards, even though James Peacock gave a bit of an argument for just collecting base cards in last week's episode. Um, I think it's important to collect rare cards that feel fulfilling. Usually the really shiny rare cards are also the ones that look the best. So that there's definitely an element of that. But if I look at someone like what Iowa Dave, and he has a podcast called The Shallow End, what he did was basically sell off his entire collection just to buy one single card, a 1940 something Jackie Robinson rookie card. Again, sorry to you baseball fans out there that are cringing. Now, he wanted that Jackie card because it was just always his Grail card. He just had a single Grail card in mind. He was zeroed in once he realized that he could sell his collection and buy it. Now, what does that mean for his collecting, though? I'm sure he's fulfilled, but I also feel like he's left with this feeling of, I don't know, unease. I wouldn't call it resentment, but almost like, well, what do I do next? Like, I've got the card, I can admire it, I can put it on my fireplace mantle, but what's the point if I can't continue to participate in the hobby? So for me, have a list of rare cards. Go as both high and wide as you can, without stretching yourself too thin, and without, leveraging your finances too much. Don't never buy on credit that you can't pay down. And, just find cards that you like, cards that are rare, cards that are just sort of hit this spot, this nice balance between you love it, it's got hobby significance, and not every kid on the block has a copy of the card, and kind of round out your own set around that card. I mean, to use my precious metal gems and star rubies as an example, some might say that I'm following the mainstream, because those could be considered mainstream cards, styles of cards, but I love it because I love Steve Nash and I can never afford his precious metal gems. So the other lane that I collect in is golf cards, and I can collect all the golfers' precious metal gems. I don't own a Tiger Woods yet, but at least it's kind of within my affordability range. So, so I don't know if that's kind of a long-winded answer, but my mind can go in a million other directions. And so, Evan, if I feel inspired someday, I think I might expand on this a bit more. All right, moving on. We got Pat Bonnet. Is there a market for non-sport golf cards? Example, I Love Lucy, Flintstones, or other sports cards with players golfing. Example, hockey players golfing. I actually just picked up an entire set of Be the Game, which is a hockey set, but it showcased 100 different hockey players, everybody taking a golf swing. Or basketball, like Steph Curry or Michael Jordan. Another one is baseball, like Mike Trout. There's a super short print SSP of Mike Trout golfing. Anyways, Pat, sorry I'm expanding on your question. To answer it, yeah, of course there's a market for it. I mean, I'm a buyer. I collect Michael Jordan cards. One of my hobby missions or goals is to collect every Michael Jordan golf card that exists. Maybe not the rare parallels, maybe not the super short print Michael Jordan autograph golf cards, but every, reasonable Michael Jordan golf card I want to collect. So, if I'm the only one in the world, I would still say that's a market. Well, maybe it's not a market if it's just me. But if there's a handful of people like me, then that's a market. It's a small market, but it's a market. The I Love Lucy golf cards, Flintstones. I don't have any of those, but yeah, I mean, I think they're cool. I love them. I think the price has to be right. So I wouldn't say it's a market in the sense that investors can pile in and buy up all the copies and raise the prices or. So yeah, there's a market. I don't think it would come with a lot of the fluctuations we see in other sports card markets. I see Brian O'Meara commented, a friend of the community. Actually, Mark O'Meara, Masters champion. Brian is Mark's brother, so it's fun to have Brian in the golf card community. He says he's not aware of any market other than eBay, but would love to know if he hears of a marketplace because he has an extensive collection of oddball golf and other athletes playing golf that he would like to move. There you go, Brian, taking advantage of the post to market some of your cards. So there you go. Brian, when you saw the word market, I think you thought of marketplace like eBay or ComC or that's COMC, abbreviation for check out my cards. There's Golden, there's Heritage auctions. There's even a golf specific auction site called Golden Age Auctions. So there's definitely lots of marketplaces, but when I think of the word market, I just think of, group of people that would be willing to buy or exchange those cards, kind of like a stock market. Anyways, I hope that answered your question, Pat. Actually, it looks like that's the last question in the mailbag. So thank you guys all for contributing. For anybody listening who's not sure how you can get a question into the mailbag, I post in the Golf Cards and Memorabilia group typically weekly, just saying mailbag, post any questions. Sometimes I don't get to them that week, but I keep track of the questions and I will get to them in a future episode. You can also just send me a DM. I know I'm a broken record about that, but it's Mike Lakusta on Facebook, Golf Cards and Memorabilia Facebook group, at the Golf Card Collector on Instagram. You know how to reach me. And that's it for this week. Thank you all for listening. I'll see you next week.
Ridiculous golf card collector.